Camera work is used in this frame to create sympathy for the male protagonist. For example, through the use of an over-the-shoulder shot focuses on his reaction, seeing the poster, which was him pausing and taking a moment to digest what the poster is about. Mise-en-scène is used in this frame to foreshadow the possible build of a relationship. For example, the poster is used as an enigma to create curiosity. This therefore allows the audience to build sympathy for the character as he seems lonely, given the impression from the sound, editing and camera work. Slow-paced, non-diegetic sound is used in this frame to connote loneliness. For example, the music has a sympathetic tone being played by an organ. This suggests that perhaps the male protagonist is at a low point in his life. The camera work is used in this frame to focus on the male protagonist's facial expressions. For example, a close-up is used while the boy says hello. From this, we can identify that the male protagonist seems pleased with himself that he's made the effort to start a conversation. Mise-en-scène is used in this frame to focus on both the male and female protagonist. For example, the setting is in an empty corridor, therefore this connotes that the protagonist has had a chance at meeting each other, but this was shortly disrupted as the female protagonist didn't reply. Sound in this frame highlights the male protagonist's desperation. For example, the diegetic sound of the dialogue is used when the male protagonist says hello. Also, through the use of a quiet empty corridor suggests that the female should have heard him, but in fact didn't as she's deaf. Camera work is used in this frame to focus on the male protagonist's loneliness. For example, a low-level camera shot is used to denote his surroundings. This also emphasizes him being alone and could connote that his lonely life has made him independent. Mise-en-scène is used in this frame to also highlight the fact that the male protagonist is isolated. For example, the setting of an empty train station reinforces the fact that he sees himself as being secluded from the outside world. Sound in this frame reinforces the continuity of life. For example, the non-diegetic sound played in frame 1 is continued through frame 2 and frame 3. This suggests that the lonely journey the male protagonist has to make is repeated on a daily basis. Camera work is used in this frame to focus on both the protagonists. For example, a mid-shot is used to emphasize the fact that the male protagonist has another chance to get to know the female protagonist. Therefore, the use of the mid-shot brings the male and female protagonist to attention. Mise-en-scène is used in this frame to create sympathy for the female protagonist. For example, the props, pen and the paper brings to the conclusion that the female is deaf and cannot speak. Therefore, this connotes that the female may like the male protagonist as she makes an effort to communicate with him. Sound in this frame reinforces the change in mood from feeling lonely to becoming happy. For example, the non-diegetic sound turns to an uplifting tone. Therefore, this allows the audience to build an understanding of the situation as the male seems to be happy about being able to talk to the female protagonist. The camera work in this frame is depth of field shot, which focuses on the notebook that is important to him. The poor focus concentrated on the notebook, which suggests that he is no longer an individual but is part of something more special. The mise-en-scène in this frame is a prop of the notebook, signifying the importance of their relationship, which is an unlikely match. The fact that the notebook only shows Brandon and Emily, it connotes that they are an item and she is the most important thing in his life right now. Sound in this frame reinforces the mood of the male protagonist, which is positive. For example, the use of the non-diegetic sound of an uplifting beat connotes that he is content with life. Therefore, the use of the non-diegetic sound allows the audience to understand the feelings felt by the protagonist. Camera work in this frame is a long shot presenting Emily with a stranger. It is also a point of view shot from Brandon's eyes and therefore connotes that he may feel as if he's being replaced. The mise-en-scène in this frame is essential in building a relationship between the audience and the male protagonist. For example, the setting is in the same place where the male protagonist, Brandon, first spoke to the female protagonist. Therefore, this suggests that Brandon is being replaced. The sound in this frame is a fast-paced, depressing, non-diegetic piece of music. This mimics Brandon's emotions. As he sees another man approach Emily, his heart begins to race along with the music, and the gloomy sound signifies his heart breaking. The camera work in this frame is a close-up of Brandon's phone. The shot shows a message from Emily saying, "Where were you today?" Brandon replies saying, "Sick." This suggests that perhaps the female protagonist has strong feelings with this character as she makes the effort to contact him. However, he replies with no enthusiasm, emphasizing he's hurt. Mise-en-scène in this frame shows a phone as a prop. This emphasizes that although the female protagonist is deaf, she still can get in contact with the male protagonist. Therefore, this connotes her dedication to the male protagonist. The non-diegetic sound used in this frame shows some hope. Also, there is the diegetic sound of the male protagonist's phone vibrating when he receives the message. This suggests that perhaps he was waiting for a message, otherwise his phone would have been on silent. The camera work used in this shot is an over-the-shoulder shot. This reinforces the relationship the audience has with the character, as they feel as if they see the incident alongside the protagonist. Therefore, this can also connote that perhaps we and Brandon were not supposed to see this due to the pull focus, which focuses on Brandon, then on Emily and her new man. The mise-en-scène in this shot has the same meaning as shot 6. For example, it's the same place that Brandon first spoke to Emily, and therefore, again, he is left feeling replaced. Earlier on in the shot, Brandon had a bunch of flowers in his hands. This connotes that he was going to ask Emily to prom, but in fact didn't due to him feeling excluded from her life. The non-diegetic sound in this frame stops. This connotes that there is a change in mood. For example, further on in the shot, Brandon misinterprets the actions made and begins to believe Emily and another man kissed. Therefore, this sudden silence connotes heartbreak. Camera work in this frame is used to provide sympathy for the female protagonist. For example, a close-up is used of the female protagonist trying to talk. Therefore, this connotes that she respects Brandon enough to talk to him without being scared of being laughed at. The mise-en-scène in this frame is a repeat of the first time Brandon tried talking to Emily. For example, the setting is in a corridor, quite like the time when Emily, the female protagonist, didn't hear Brandon say hello. The diegetic sound in this shot is of Emily trying to talk and communicating with Brandon. This suggests that she is proud enough to make an attempt to talk to Brandon. Throughout this film, the editing techniques used were consistent. For example, the film was filled with straight cuts and shot reverse shot to show the conversations between the protagonists. This enables the audience to see reactions to the statements and helps build a relationship with the audience as they feel like they are following the journey with emotions.